Alex,
Yes, sir.
imagine this. It's a triple threat match here. Actually, we'll make it a fatal four-way. It's a American bison, a grizzly bear,
Okay.
a moose, and a mountain lion.
A mountain lion's definitely not winning that.
Okay, it's dogged out.
Just off the rip.
It's too small. Doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, they're incredibly strong for their size, but I mean, the other three are just absolute mountainous powerhouses.
I didn't know if the speed and cunningness would play a factor in that.
I think I'm gonna have to go bison for.
Just a
I mean, they're
tank.
they're so big. I mean, they're herd animals, so they're gonna have backup. Like it's just not even close. I mean, the moose is close in size, but it's still I don't think it's beating the bison. I mean, they're just that big.
I get you. That's
hefty.
It's a tough question to ask. But anyway, welcome everybody to Life the Complete Story. As always, I am your host Tyler, joined by my lovely co-host Alex.
Howdy everyone.
Today we have a doozy of an episode. And as I was doing the research today, I sat there and I realized this is too big for one episode. This is a two-banger.
It's gonna have to be. I mean, there's so much.
So
is quite large.
Yeah, I looked at this, and there's like over 900 like individual species, I think. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I'm scrolling down through here, and there's
a bit.
That's a lot. It's a lot of dudes.
But today, we're talking about the Anguilliformes. These are your true eels. So this is everything that's not a deep-sea spiny eel that we talked about last week. Not the electric eel. Not the swamp eel.
No.
So these are like conger eels, moray eels.
I think the American eel.
The American eel, the garden eel, the one that comes out of the dirt, stuff like that. So, but we'll start how we always do with our nature in the news. Alex, do you want to cover this article, or do you want me to handle it?
I think I can knock this guy out. So this is from the University of Adelaide. It's titled "Nearly 30,000 Wild Species Identified in U.S. Trade Data." So it's international research that's been done, spearheaded by the University of Adelaide. They captured a U.S. wildlife trade monitoring organization. Law enforcement managed information system. So I think, led by the University of Hong Kong, over 22 years of data found that 2.85 billion individual organisms were traded, which is about 50% of these were taxa sourced from the wild. And the United States is one of the world's largest wildlife importers. It's kind of unique in that it documents the trade in species not covered by international regulations. So kind of the long and short of this is, and I'm sure it's a lot of times the wealthy of America are buying and selling, but in the case of America, buying like exotic species that may not be yet covered by any sort of regulation as far as if they're endangered, vulnerable, whatever their classification is on the IUCN Red List. But since they're not protected, they're legally traded, but they're still wild-caught animals that people are pretty much taking and keeping as pets.
Right. To clarify, less than 1% of this is illegal trade. So these would be like your big catch trade, like when people buy like tigers or lions from the wild. But it's still.
I'm sure there's a lot of reptiles and amphibians that get caught up.
30,000
fish.
There's 30,000 species that are being traded on the pet trade just in the Americas. Half of the 2.85 billion individuals are wild caught. So there's no breeding program or whatever. Because sometimes you can get an exotic animal through a breeding program.
So they're not wild animals.
I know.
They're wild, but they're not caught from the wild.
Yeah, I know. In my random rabbit holes of what kind of pet do I want when I get older, I've looked up hedgehogs, skunks, raccoons.
See, skunks and
sloths.
Raccoons are native. Okay, sloths on the other hand. You gotta remember that they're sharp.
They are native, but they're still wild animals. So I guess they're not. It depends on how deep they go into the trade. If it's like importation trade or if it's like interstate trade, because
yeah, I don't know. It seemed like a lot of it said was importation, and like I said, since so little of it was illegal, like I said, 0.01% was illegal trade, which means that all of this was done technically legally, mostly because there's not actual laws in place for these organisms yet.
yeah, some of them might need just like updated and said, hey, when we established this, it was fine, but now it's kind of like maybe not so much here, boy. But that's the gist of the article, once again, published by the University of Adelaide, published on January 9, 2025.
Yeah, and a big thing they were saying with all this trading is the sustainability of it, because since they said so many of them are wild-caught organisms, is that sustainable over the long term, even though they're not protected yet? Yet being the key word.
All right, that's going to cover our nature in the news for today. We're going to move on into our lesson, but don't worry, we got a lot of jam-packed in this. We got our normal segments, we got the lesson on Anguilliformes, and we got a new segment that we'll get into before we close out today. Alex, what are Anguilliformes?
They are your eels. These are your true eels, mostly marine organisms, with some exceptions being like the Andromedas rice paddy eel, the Catadromus freshwater moray, and the genus Anguilla, which is as well as the entirely freshwater snake eel.
So, for the people that don't know, Andromedy is whenever you Anadromedy is whenever you go from freshwater to salt. It's a fish. It's fish migration. It's anion, cation, science terms. Anadromy is
Anadromous fish that spend part of their lives in saltwater and part in freshwater. They're born like salmon. They're born in freshwater, spend their adult lives in saltwater, and then return to the freshwater to spawn.
So, anadromy is you live in saltwater but spawn in fresh. Catadromy is whenever you live in freshwater, spawn in saltwater.
Yes.
We did it.
Which is like the American eel.
Yes. It took a minute, but we got there. All right. What else can you tell me about the eels?
Eels, they kind of vary a lot in size, from the one-jawed eel, which is only 2 inches long, to the giant moray, which is measuring about 13 feet and can weigh up to 55 pounds. So they can go from itty bitty 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 to larger than a car.
Yeah.
And of course, everything in between.
To add, the giant moray can go up to 55 pounds. The heaviest known eel is a conger eel, the European conger, and those things can get up to 240 pounds.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. That was a 10-foot conger eel that was 240 pounds.
Wow.
That's a thick lad.
He is hefty for sure. But eels possess no pelvic fins, and some of them even lack pectoral fins, so they look like an eel. Yeah. They're very long, cylindrical, pretty much just a body that's like a long tail almost. The dorsal and anal fins fuse to the caudal fin, so that terminal fin that's like on the end of the tail pretty much extend. The dorsal and anal fins extend the length of the body, fuse to that caudal fin, so it all looks like one big fin, really. Or there may be very slight separation. So like that. And in the picture that Tyler pulled up here, you can see the dorsal and anal fin run the length of the body to the end of the tail. It pretty much looks like one giant fin. And then they do have pectoral fins, but they're very small, kind of they're maybe used for a little bit of steering, but not much. But the picture also shows that they swim in that very wave-like motion, and they can actually swim backwards by kind of reversing the way that the wave of their swim is. It's kind of funky. And most eels live in shallow ocean water, so you see these a lot around like reefs and like seagrass areas, things like that. They burrow into the mud and sand, or live along the rocks, which is where the moray is really at home. But some live along the continental shelves as deep as 13,000 feet. So typically shallow, but they can live fairly deep. Primarily benthic organisms, though.
Yeah, the gulper eel, I believe, is a true eel.
Okay. There's some deep.
We'll find out. Yeah, it is. It's in one of these suborders, so we'll talk about later.
Okay, yeah. So we have a whole bunch of subfamilies, I think, or suborders that we're gonna go through.
Yeah. We'll cover today. We're gonna cover Clopsoidae, Synaphobranchoidae, and Anguillidae, and then we'll cover the other groups next week.
You said Clopsidae.
Yep.
Anguillidae.
Yep. And Anguillidae.
Anguillidae, and then what was the last one?
That's it. We'll cover the rest next week.
It's just Clopsidae and Anguillidae.
And Synaphobranchoidae.
Okay, that's where
we got there.
Yes. Okay.
All right. I'll kick us off here with Clopsidae. So this is the suborder Clopsidae. It is one family called Clopsidae. So it's Clopsoidae is the suborder, Clopsidae is the family, and these are the false morays. Let me stop sharing. So Alex might pull up a picture if you can find one. So this was first proposed as a family way back when in 1815.
I had a picture. I'm trying to find a better picture.
And there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 genus in this family here. We got, what is it? Bocenchulus longidentata is the only species in this genus. That is a Cloptis bicolor, which is going to be the bicolor eel. So yeah, as I said, that Bocenchulus longidentata is the long-toothed false moray eel, kind of found in the Indian Ocean, kind of off the coast of Indonesia, Fiji, and other like those small tropical islands in that South Pacific region. The next genus is going to be Catespia. It has a single species, Catespia pseudomurana. No familiar name, I see.
Yeah, it must be just
brand spanking new.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a very recently.
Yeah, 1992.
Yeah.
So it's pretty shallow. Lives at surface level to about 30 feet deep. Reaches about 6 inches long. And they're found around the Bahamas and like in the Caribbean Sea and in that area. We got Chilerinus has 2 species this time. These are the flat-nosed xenocongrid eel and the seagrass eel. These are found in tropical waters. The flat-nosed congrid eel is found in the Pacific Ocean, about 5 to 25 meters deep, and lives that benthic lifestyle along the seabed. And then the seagrass eel lives in the Atlantic Ocean, Bermuda, South Florida, Brazil, found in reefs and seagrass beds, which is how it gets that that common name, seagrass eel. And they reach about 18 centimeters tops. You have Clopsis, which is a bit larger. We're up to 12 species now. The striped snout false moray, the bicolor false moray, the bicolor eel, Clopsis bidentatus, which does not have a common name, but that was a more recent species, only described in 2003. Clopsis dentatus, which is the mottled false moray, Clopsis kazuko, the Mexican false moray.
It's a great name.
It is. It really is. Clopsis longidens, which was found in 1899, and still doesn't have a common name. Interesting.
Doesn't look like it. Because it is known from a single leptocephalus specimen. So single larval specimen.
Heck yeah. We love when that happens.
Yeah, it's possible it could be a bicolor false moray from that specimen. So
Clops, and some of these don't have names. They're really recent. That Clopsis Nanhyensis was only found in 2015. Same thing with the Clopsis sagmicularis and orientalis. So that's 3 species that have been found within the past 10 years.
Yeah, so sometimes, especially something like this, if they're finding a lot of them, they may not have a common name for them yet. Or at least there's not enough research out that they've given it one.
Right. Moving on, we got the genus Calpicthes. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
These are the black nostril false moray, the short fin false moray, the false moray, Calpictus japonicus. I'm gonna guess that lives in Japan.
Would be probably a good guess.
Yes.
You would be correct,
in
yeah.
Japan in the South China Sea. They reach about 10 inches long. Calpictus nuchalis, which is the collared eel. So most of these live in the Pacific Ocean, Great Barrier Reef, Pacific Islands, all the way up to the South China Sea. The short fin false moray actually exhibits some biofluorescence, Alex. Let's take a picture of that. If not, I can.
I gotcha already. Bingo.
Look at that.
That's crazy.
And they reach about 13 centimeters, and they don't live too deep, only about 43 meters, which is odd that they have bioluminescence at that depth.
Yeah, although at the same time.
Oh, that's because it's biofluorescence, not luminescence. So it's under black light.
Okay. Still cool. Still very cool.
Yeah. What else we got here?
Different.
Yeah, most of these are in that Indo-Pacific region. We got Powellicthes is the sole species Powellicthes ventriosus. Lives around the Cook Islands in the Western Pacific Ocean. It's non-migratory, and this was discovered in 1966. So we're still not having names for things. We just haven't gone out there to check on it.
And common names, a lot of them were given a long time ago because they didn't. I mean, they had this scientific naming, and some of the newer species, they don't give them a common name because then you know specifically what species you're talking about. Because this happens a lot, especially in tree species and plants. You get a lot of multiple species that have the same common name.
Genus Robinsia is the sole species Robinsia cathernae, which is found around Kenya, as well as off the coast of Panama and Brazil. So that's kind of confusing me.
Yeah, that's funky.
Because Kenya's on this side of Africa.
Yeah.
And
so like the Indian Ocean and then the Eastern Atlantic.
Yeah, West Atlantic.
Yes, sorry. Eastern South America, Western Atlantic.
Yes. And they live about 140 to 243 meters deep, so about 800 feet max, and they reach about 8 inches. And then we have the genus Xenoconger, which is the single species Xenoconger friera, or Friar's false moray. This species was described in 1912, solely found on Assumption Island and the Amami Islands, and they live in benthic rock crevices, similar to most morays.
Yeah.
And they're about 8 inches long as well.
Yeah, not real big, but they live when you say benthic rock crevices, this is right offshore, 3 to 16 feet of water.
Yeah, scuba diving range.
Like snorkeling range.
That's the word I meant, yeah. That's what I meant to say, snorkeling range. But that's going to cover the suborder Clopsordae. Alex, I'll kick it over to you for Synaphobranchidae.
Yes, sir. Alrighty. So, excuse me. Synaphobranchidae is also known as the cutthroat eels. There's the family. Synaphobranchidae is the only family in the suborder of Synaphobranchoidae, found worldwide in temperate and tropical seas, ranging from 23 to 106 centimeters, so 9 to 63 inches in length. Bottom dwellers, as most of the eels are, found in deeper water, however, about 3,700 meters, or just over 12,000 feet, distinguished by the presence of telescopic eyes in the larvae. And in some classifications, the family is actually split into two families, with the second family being Simoncellis or Simoncelidae. But here we have 3 subfamilies that split into a handful of genus. So that going into the genus Simonchellus, it is the pug-nosed parasitic eels. It's the only known. There's only one species in this genus. It's a deep sea eel of those cutthroat eels, found in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, 1,600 to almost 6,000 feet deep. Typically a scavenger, but also known to have powerful jaws and teeth to burrow into larger fish as a parasite. So they're almost like a leech, but not quite.
They look like it too.
They do look like leeches. Very strange. Next is the genus Tractodentilla. Tractodentillus. It is three species in this relatively small genus: Tractodentillus brevitrunca, Tractodentillus frix, which is also known as the arrow-tooth eel, deep water eel, typically located in the eastern Caribbean, that western central Atlantic Ocean, 385 to 425 meters deep. And then lastly, Tractodentillus robinsorum, which is a newer species in the group, described in 2003. It is a deep water dwelling eel from the Chesterfield Islands in the southwestern Pacific Ocean, known to dwell about 710 meters deep. So, as we said, this group of eels, it's the subfamily Elephinnae, which is where Tractodentillus is one of the genus. These are the arrowtooth and mustard eels, I should start with. The next genus is Disoma, which has 21 recognized species. I'm not going to go too in depth over all of them. I'll just kind of give you the names of all of them, but they are found in the Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans. You have Disoma Echiropteryx.
That's like a dinosaur.
I know. I think that's actually the most recently described one too. Is probably why there's not much for it. 2019. Disoma alticorpus. It is the pale cutthroat eel.
Oh, a lot of these are new.
Disoma anguillare, which is the short belly arrow-tooth eel. Disoma brachionathos, short jaw cutthroat eel. The Disoma brevirostrae is the pig-nosed arrow-tooth eel. Disoma bucephalus, Disoma buceroidi, Disoma dolichosomatum. These are some great names for these. Disoma formosa, which is the white cutthroat eel. Disoma fuscoventralis, wild. Disoma goslinea, Disoma intermedium, Disoma longirostrum. I'm guessing that he's got a long nose.
I would assume so.
Disoma melanorum.
Yeah, it says the species epithet refers to the eel's long snout. Who would have guessed?
I don't know. Disoma muciparis, Disoma opus the proctus, Disoma fucitens, Disoma polycatodon, Disoma robinsorum, which is the Robinson's cutthroat eel, Disoma taiwanensis, the Taiwanese arrowtooth eel, and Disoma tridens. Apologize that there's a lot of very boring names, but to give you kind of an idea, as we said, over a lot of them, they're in those Atlantic, Indian, Pacific Oceans, many of them being a little bit on the deeper side, such as that pig-nosed arrowtooth eel, depth ranging from 200 to 1,000 meters, and they reaching about 30 centimeters in length, which is about a foot long.
So we're getting like 3,000 feet deep, right?
Yeah, and that seems to be the case for a lot of these. Disoma fucoventralis is 750 to 1,425 meters deep. Longer rostrum, not quite as deep, only about 100 to 150 meters, but many of these are deeper dwelling, 200 meters, even up to 1,500 meters, roughly, kind of that in between range. So these are not shallow water organisms. Next is Dysomina, a little different and much smaller. Not so exciting. Is again another genus of Synaphobranchidae, found in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. One was actually just described this past year, 2024. Dysomina brevis. And you have Dysomina orientalis, also described recently in 2018. Dysomina proboscideus, my apologies, native to the eastern central Atlantic, subtropical eel, dwelling at about 150 meters deep. And then the Dysomina rugosa, which is, again, a deep dwelling marine eel from the western Atlantic and eastern Pacific, central Pacific, dwelling about 260 to 775 meters deep, often off of the continental slope. And the males can reach about 37 meters or centimeters long. Sorry. And then in 2005, there's something that was discovered that has been called Eel City, which is a whole bunch of the Dysomina rugosa, all living in the same spot. They'd only ever really been brought up from trawling nets. They'd never really been able to look at them in their native habitat, and they managed to find one near the hydrothermal vents of the new volcano Nafanua in American Samoa, which is kind of unique because usually these vents are home to a lot of invertebrate life, but in this case the eels took over. So this is pretty cool, very unique. But
yeah, this is kind of
yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
because,
usually you don't see fish living in this way, so this is pretty neat.
Yeah, because a lot of times you'll have like the dead zones surrounding these areas too, that are just oversalinated, right? Sometimes there's like
they have very high sulfur concentrations.
Yeah.
Very kind of acidic water.
There's a video I have, that, like a little clip in my head that I have just let. It just sits there. It's an eel. That's why I popped into my head, is because it's an eel that goes into like one of those clouds of death, and it just instant nerve damage and just curls up, like writhes and dies.
Just because of the natural chemicals that are in the water.
Yeah, I'll have to find it. We'll add it in post or something, maybe. I don't know.
Have to find it. Yeah.
But
moving
on. Eoliophis.
Next is the genus Eoliophis. Again, found pretty worldwide, Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans. You have 6 recognized species. So there's more on here than 6. So I'm guessing
there's 8 on that list.
Yeah, so I'm guessing this hasn't been updated, or these two.
There's 2 new species in the past 3 years.
Yeah, these 2 are so new that they may still be working them out. So, but you have the Elophis arx, which is a very deep-dwelling eel from the eastern Pacific and northeastern Atlantic, dwelling in ranges from 1,800 to 3,200 meters. Very, very deep. Eoliophis blakei, again, a deep-sea dweller from the southeastern Atlantic and southern Indian Ocean, ranging in depths from 580 to over 2,000 meters, getting about 30 inches or about 80 centimeters in length. Elophis bernaeus, found around the world at depths below 1,000 meters, grows to about 160 meters. This is also called the muddy arrow-toothed eel. Elophis maclanii as one of the brand new ones from 2024, so there's really nothing on that one yet. Elophis nigeli. This one is from the northwestern Pacific Ocean near Japan, living at depth of 700 to 1,800 meters, reaching about 50 centimeters in length. Lophus known to dwell at depths from 4,800 to about 5,200 meters, with them topping out at a length of about 35 centimeters. So these guys live pretty deep in that Indo-West Pacific, kind of around the Philippines, Southeast Asia. This Saldanhai is native to the West Central Atlantic, about at a depth of about 3,000 meters. And then lastly is Alophus singularis, which is another newer species described in 2022. So nothing on them yet. Okay, we got getting there, guys. We have a few more.
Chunking away. We're chunking
away.
We did warn you last week. This was gonna be a doozy, and then we warned ourselves today. This is gonna be a two-parter.
Yes. So next is Lincolncellus, is a monospecific genus, with the only species being Lincolncellus multipora. Was known from living near the Bahamas at around a depth of 228 meters. The genus Media, Meadia.
What a name!
Yeah. It's a genus of cutthroat eels that has 3 species. Medea abyssalis, which I'm guessing it lives not as deep as you would think.
Yeah, wrong.
Only it lives pretty much worldwide through the kind of some like the tropical areas, Brazil, near Hawaii, Japan, Mauritius. Often found off continental slope at about 100 to 329 meters. And they can get a length of about 73 meters. So they're a little bigger. And then lastly is Media minor. It is the small cutthroat eel. That's a fairly new species as of 2021. So nothing on that one. And then lastly in this subfamily, so last genus for this subfamily is the Thermobiotes, which this is also a monospecific genus, which is the Thermobiotis Mytologeton. So quite a name. Is only known from the Vi Lily hydrothermal vent area in the western central Pacific Ocean at a depth of 1,750 meters, so almost 6,000 feet. So pretty far, over a mile deep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And then lastly is the subfamily Synaphobranchinae, which has 4 genus. First is the Disastrobranchus, which is a monospecific genus with the species Disastrobranchus capensis, which is also known as the basket work eel. They are found off of southern Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand at depths of over 1,000 meters, and they can get between 80 and 120 centimeters long. So we're in the home stretch. We got 3 more genus for this suborder. Yeah, getting there. We have Haptoncellus. It says 2 species that can be found in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans at depths from about 2,000 to almost 5,000 meters, so 7,000 to 16,000 feet. Very deep. One is the small-eyed abyssal eel, or Haptoncellus parviocularis, described in 2014. Not much about that one. And then Haptoncellus texas, spelled exactly how, or almost how the state is. It's IS instead of AS.
I was about to call you out on some bull.
Yeah, well, I caught myself. And that is found 2,000 to a little over 4,000 meters deep. Not a lot about these guys because they live so deep. We've talked about that a lot in the past. A lot of those deep sea species make it very difficult for us to study them. Next is the Histiobranchus genus. There are 3 species. Histiobranchus australis, native to the southern Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Ocean. leading a benthic lifestyle, dwelling from 950 to 3,000 meters deep. They get about 63 centimeters long. At least the males. The females really only get they actually get a little bigger at 67 centimeters. Branchus bathybius is the deep water arrowtooth eel. It's found globally. Unfortunately, not much about that one. And then lastly, Histobranchus baruni, which is found around New Zealand and deep ocean basin, 4,000 to 5,000 meters deep. And they only get up to about 60 centimeters long. And lastly, the genus Synaphobranchus, which has six species. So we'll run through these real quick because we're starting to get a little long here on our lesson. Synaphobranchus affinis, which is the gray cutthroat eel. Synaphobranchus breva dorsalis, the short dorsal cutthroat eel. Synaphobranchus calvus. Synaphobranchus dolichorynchus. Synaphobranchus coppi, which is Kopp's arrowtooth eel. And Synaphobranchus oregoni. So these are all deeper water dwelling eels, kind of from the Pacific, Indo-Pacific areas, 300 to a couple thousand meters deep, typically around the 2,500 to 3,000 meter deep range. Some of them getting over 100 centimeters in length. Many of these are all live very similar lifestyles. They live in that kind of upper abyssal zone of the ocean, found worldwide. I think only one is Synaphobranchus dolichorynchus. It doesn't live nearly as deep, only about 100 to 150 meters. So that one in this group is kind of the outcast. The rest of these live much, much deeper. But finally, I'm sure you're tired of hearing me talking for a little bit. That is the Synaphobranchidae. We'll go lastly to Anguillidae, which is last.
It's a doozy. It's quite the big one.
Yeah, that one.
This one's grouped into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 families. Those 9 families have a couple genus in them. You know the drill. So we'll go into Moringidae first. Those are the spaghetti eels. I'll try to make this as enjoyable as possible for everybody involved. Yes, I thank you. I applaud you for listening. Well, let's get into it. Let's get after it. Moringidae. We've got 2 genuses. These are spaghetti eels or worm eels. They're found in shallow tropical waters worldwide, and they're about 15 centimeters to 140 centimeters, so about 5 inches to 55 inches. We got genus Moringua, which has Moringua abbreviata, Moringua bicolor, Moringua edwardsi, Moringua faringinae, Moringua guthrieana, Moringua hawaiiensis. But that's in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Moringua javanica, which is Indonesian. Moringua macrocephalus. Big head.
Big head.
Yeah, that's what it means, macrocephalus. Moringua macrocheer. Don't know what that one means.
That is the longfin spaghetti eel.
Moringua microcheer, which is the lesser thrush eel. Moringua penny, pen thrush eel. And Moringua raitabora, the purple spaghetti eel. Look at that thing looks. That's not even purple. That's brown. They lied to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless that's a bad picture.
Yeah, it probably is.
It looks more like a drawing.
The other genus in Moringidae is the neoconger. We got Neoconger anilisae, Neoconger hingomi, Neoconger mucronatus, Neoconger tori, Neoconger tuberculatus. I almost said tuberculosis. That's the swollen gut worm eel.
Yes.
Neoconger vermiformis, the small eye spaghetti eel. And these guys live also in that shallow tropical and subtropical, so like that belt around the equator for about 20 degrees north.
Yeah, I think so.
South.
Yeah.
20 or 40, I forget. 40 sounds too big.
Yeah, 40 sounds sounds much higher. From 23.5 north and south
20
is the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn.
So moving on, we have Anguillidae. These are the freshwater eels. There's quite a handful of them. You help me so much. Why can't I just get the species? There we go. There's so many. Oh,
where
goodness.
are you at? Nemicthidae?
No, we're in Anguillidae.
Anguillidae, sorry, I skipped one. There are a handful. Oh my goodness.
We got Anguilla, the European eel. Anguilla annosa, which is an extinct species. Anguilla australis, which I'm assuming is the Australian eel.
Yeah, and there's 2 subspecies in that.
Yeah, the Anguilla australis, which is the short fin eel, and Anguilla australis schmidti.
Yeah.
Schmidti. You got Anguilla bengalensis, the mottled eel, and they have 2 species, the Indian and the African mottled eel. So that's bengalensis labiata. Anguilla bicolor has 2 subspecies as well. Anguilla bicolor, Indonesian shortfin, and Anguilla bicolor pacifica, Indian shortfin. Big difference.
It's a difference.
Anguilla borneensis, the Borneo eel. Anguilla breviceps, Anguilla celebensensis, the Celeb's longfin eel. Anguilla dieffenbachii, the New Zealand longfin eel. Anguilla interiors, Highlands longfin eel. Anguilla japonica, the Japanese eel. Anguilla luzonensis, the Philippine mottled eel. Anguilla malgumora, the Indonesian longfin eel. Anguilla marmorata, the giant mottled eel. Anguilla megastoma, the Polynesian longfin eel. Anguilla mozambica, the African longfin eel. Anguilla nebulosa, the mottled eel. I feel like we already had a mottled eel.
We did.
This is why we use the scientific names.
This is why we use scientific names.
Anguilla obscura, the Pacific short-finned eel. Anguilla reinhardti, the speckled longfin eel. Anguilla rostrata is the American eel. And yeah, that's all the living ones.
That's a doozy.
That was a lot.
That was quite a few. I think this is the biggest group we've had so far.
Yes, this is one of
just one
groups.
family, or one order, I guess. Or
we
genus.
Got Nemicthidae. These are snipe eels. We got in here 9 species and 3 genera. That doesn't sound right. It is right. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, remember this is the family Nemicthidae.
Correct. So we're in the genus Avocitina. They have Avocitina acuticeps, the southern snipe eel. Avocitina bowersii. Avocitina infans, the avocet snipe eel. And Avocitina paucipora. Then you got Labichthys, which is Labichthys carinatus. Labichthys yanoi, which is Llano snipe eel. And then lastly, you have Nemicthys. Nemicthys curvirostris, the boxer snipe eel. Nemicthys lysini, and Nemicthys scolopaceus, the slender snipe eel. These guys look funky.
They're all very long and skinny, and they have really long, skinny mouths. It's like just 2 little needles.
Like a bird beak.
But even more like a hummingbird beak. Like very long. They're funky looking.
And these guys live roughly 300, 600 meters, so not super deep. But like right in that mesopelagic zone where like the sun still hits, like you still get some of that natural light.
Yeah, but some of them do get pretty deep, 2,000 to 4,000 meters deep.
Yeah,
it's not their favorites.
You got the Cerivomeridae, has 2 genus, Cerivomere and Stemonidium. So in Cerivomere you have Cerivomere beanie, Cerivomere bertini, Cerivomere garmani, Cerivomere jesperseni, Cerivomere lanceolatortis, Cerivomere neocaledon. Samoaniensis. I hate these so much.
Some of these names are tough.
Samoensis. That's an easy one. Cervimore Schmitty. Cervimore Sector. So why can't we all have nice, easy names?
Yeah, like sector.
And in Stemonidium.
There you go.
Is a mono. What is it?
Monospecific.
Monospecific. That's the word. Stemonidium hypomelus is the lone species, and they live over 1,000 meters deep, so roughly 30,000 feet. And they're near Niihau Island in Hawaii. Moving on, we got the bobtail eels, Cymatidae. It's a monospecific genus. It's Cyma, which is a monospecific genus in the family Cymatidae. So this is the arrow eel, the bobtail snipe eel, or the deepwater eel. And they're funky looking too. These look even funkier.
Yeah.
Whip a picture up.
Yes, sir.
So these guys live at around 9,000 feet deep in the Antarctic Ocean. Ooh, quite the looker.
Check that guy out. Yeah, they're weird.
Yeah, this looks like something you'd see in the Antarctic.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The Antarctic has goofy looking fish.
Yeah. Although they do live worldwide. I shouldn't say Antarctic, but that's where they were first discovered.
Okay.
So moving on, we got Monognathidae, which is a group of deep sea eels. It means they have one jaw. These are the one jaw gulper eels, and there's about 15 species. This is a one genus within this family so it's Monognathus. Monognathus alstromi, which is the paddle-tail one jaw. Monognathus bertelli, Monognathus bertini, Monognathus bulky, Monognathus bruni, Monognathus herringi, Monognathus isaacsi, Monognathus jespersini, which is the picture that Alex is showing.
Yep.
Monognathus jessi, Monognathus nigeli, Monognathus ozawai, Monognathus rajui, Monognathus rosenblatti, Monognathus smithi, and Monognathus teningi. And those guys are real deep dwellers. The gulper eels live in that real deep abyssal zone. Over 6,600 feet, over 2,000 meters deep.
Found worldwide.
Oh yeah, worldwide. We'll go ahead into Neocymatidae, which is one genera, which I believe is a monospecific species. Yeah. Neocyma erythrosoma. And because we used to think it was in a different family until we did some genomics sequencing in 2018. They got that nice orange color, as you can see in the illustration, and they're likely blind.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And we've only observed it in the North and South Atlantic Ocean. Moving on, we got Eurypharingidae. So these are the actual...
It's the pelican eel.
These are the pelican eels, the gulper eels. They're cool. They look nice and skinny, and then they kind of like make their mouth nice and big and suck up their prey.
They're kind of terrifying.
Yeah. They are. This is one species. I'm dumb.
Yeah.
I thought there was multiple. So this is Eurypharynx pelicanoides. This is the deep sea eel. It's pelican eel. As I kind of said, it uses that big mouth of it to gulp up prey in one foul swoop. And that mouth is oftentimes a lot larger than its actual body. And it kind of has a loose hinge, so it can open it much wider than it should be able to.
Yeah, quite crazy to look at.
Yeah.
They don't get too big, about 1 meter, about 3 feet in length. So
but their mouth is like a quarter of that size.
Correct. It's crazy.
That's why they look stupid.
Yeah, and they live in like that super abyssal, like up to 3,000 meters.
Yeah, we're talking almost 10,000 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty deep. There's not a whole lot of food there, so they've adapted that giant mouth. Anytime they get food, they just intake anything that's in front of their mouth.
And our last family for the day is going to be Saccharopharyngidae. So these are your deep sea eels. They have long mouths too, but not structured like the pelican eel.
Yeah, a little
This
different.
one's more like a sack than a like pelican jaw.
Yeah, let me pull up
These
a
are
good
these
picture.
are more gulper eel, and they're
I'm trying
more
to find a good picture for you.
they're more mid-water species, only up to about 6,000 feet deep, and they're really only found in the Atlantic Ocean. And they have a luminous bulb on their tail, kind of like as a lure for their prey. And there's a couple species. There's about 10. You got Saccharopharynx ampullaceus, which is the gulper eel, Saccharopharynx bertelli, Saccharopharynx harrisoni, Saccharopharynx joidi, Saccharopharynx lavenbergi, Saccharopharynx palcovertebratus, Saccharopharynx ramosus, Saccharopharynx schmidti, which is the whiptail gulper, Saccharopharynx thalassa, and Saccharopharynx trilobatus.
Whiptail gulper. I have a picture of a preserved specimen of that.
Heck yeah.
That is freaky.
The preservation doesn't help that.
No,
But
it doesn't make it any better. It's just uncomfortable.
yeah, it's like not that uncanny valley uncomfortable, but like the
It's just
almost like it's like Xeno Valley uncomfortable, where it's like it looks like it should be an alien, it doesn't look like it should exist.
Exactly. Oh, but I think
that's the lesson.
That's it for
We got
today.
there.
That one was a doozy.
But there's more.
Yes, we got a couple more things before we're done. As usual, I'll hop in to my
please,
most
let me
wanted
catch my
for
breath.
this week. Yes. So my most wanted for this week is not an eel that we talked about today. It's actually not even, I think, a true eel. It is the Asian swamp eel. It is Monopterus albus is the scientific name. So it is actually from the order Anguilliformes, which is the swamp eels. And
Which are actually in the perch family. We'll get to that way later.
Yes. So the reason so they have a body very similar to regular eels. They're kind of scaleless, as smooth, kind of round shape. The reason that they are kind of a threat is because in the Everglades National Park, so in Florida within the United States, they have been seen to maybe cause some damage to crayfish populations in areas where they've been introduced, but they're not 100% because other species of fish also saw significant declines in that area. So they're not 100% if they're like super invasive yet. They're still being studied, but for now they're being considered invasive until they can determine if they're actually going to become more of a naturalized species, where where that's different than invasive is they're brought in and they kind of just fit right into the food web, that trophic level pyramid. They don't really cause any problems up or down as far as eating too much or taking up too much space. They just fit right in, kind of find their little spot and hang out and become part of the ecosystem. But until they can determine that, they're trying to at least slow it down, keep it where they can keep an eye on it, until they determine for sure if it is invasive or
it's been a relatively short introduction period too. It's only been about 30 years.
Yeah, so which it depends on something like this. They tend to be a little slower, but it depends. Stink bugs, or the spotted lanternfly. It's only been 5-10 years. Stink bug is
For
a
the
little longer.
lanternfly, yeah,
Lanternfly
the
has only
stink
been like
bug's been around for a hot minute around
yeah,
here.
but the lanternfly 5-10 years tops maybe, and they've
Yeah.
already pretty much taken over a small like most of Pennsylvania and
The
a good
east
bit
of the
of
Mississippi.
yeah they've spread like wildfire. Which that's
Way to
maybe a bad choice of words right now because California is on fire, but
Yeah,
California is
unfortunately.
always on fire.
That's true.
But yeah, and they've been found in like Georgia and other states as well. The thing they're really concerned about is the fact that they are hermaphroditic, which means they can change their sex to reproduce, and they produce about 1,000 eggs per spawning event, which is throughout the year. So this is where they're really trying to keep an eye on them because they're able to adapt to this point that they you can introduce two. They could both be males, and all of a sudden you have 100 or 1,000 because they can change their sex and produce a lot of eggs at once. But that is all I have on these guys for today. Kind of a shorter one. Just trying to keep it a little easier because the lesson got a little long today.
Yeah, I will try to keep mine short as well. Today, my amazing species is going to be the bastard eel. Alex started laughing because we
didn't look at this ahead of time.
There's a small like Instagram discussion between the two of us about what's the actual name called for this?
Gymnothorax miliaris.
No, like the other name, like the yellow. It's like a yellow line moray or something like that.
Oh yeah.
It was a meme that we saw where it was like, oh, we'll call it the yellow line moray, and then it bites him, and then we just call it the bastard eel because it bites him.
Yes.
But these guys are found all along the
if you give me I have a picture if you give it to me.
Oh, I can give you whatever you want, buddy. These guys are found in that, there you go, the West Atlantic, all along the coast, like from Florida all the way down to like southern Brazil, as well as along some islands between South America and Africa. They like the intertidal and neritic zones, so pretty shallow regions. These guys are least concerned on the IUCN Red List. Yeah, I really just picked this because of the meme.
Yeah.
We assessed them in 2011, and that wasn't published until 2015. So we do kind of need to update it to see if the population's changed recently. It's kind of hard to do that for some of these marine species just because there's such a big survey. Like, the amount of area to survey for it to get a good reading is so vast.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And there's no real major threats to it. It's used locally for food, and internationally as like a pet, so it is kind of used in the in aquaculture. Eventually down the line, this might caught. You don't really see much of a problem in the marine species, unless you're the lionfish.
Yeah,
in terms of like aquaculture,
that was because they were introduced to where they became an invasive species. That's where that issue is.
Yeah, so we don't really have any conservation efforts in place because we don't need them. They're thriving just the way they are.
They're doing great.
And that's going to conclude my amazing species.
Fantastic.
We have a new segment, Alex.
Yes, we do. It's something you got a hold of. You texted me yesterday. You said
I
had an idea.
I texted you last night. And I'm like, I have an idea.
Yes,
I'm intrigued.
I was intrigued, and so for the first time, episode 30. I just looked at the notes. 30 episodes in. So we bring you a new segment today. We are calling Ecology Encyclopedia. Tyler, take it away. Explain what that is and what today's encyclopedia entry is.
Right. So the Ecology Encyclopedia, I kind of realized last night as I was thinking about the show, we say a lot of words.
We do a lot of fancy science words that someone who's not experienced this is going to be very confused at what these words mean.
So our objective, our goal with this Ecology Encyclopedia is kind of like throw out a word, that you might not understand that we do in some manner, and kind of like give you the breakdown so that if we bring it up later on in the show or in another episode months from now, you can be like, oh, I heard that before. You guys talked about it. Because a lot of the words we don't exactly explain to you until we need to. So if we can kind of like throw out a couple words for you to understand beforehand,
all the better.
All the better. So we don't have to explain it later on. And we have more time to explain other things, like all these eel species.
Yes, a lot of eels.
But today's Ecology Encyclopedia entry is the riparian zone. I'll give a little breakdown on what it is. Alex, you have a better understanding, to my knowledge, on a riparian zone?
A little bit. Let me pull up a nice picture for everybody. I'm trying to find so this is a good picture right here.
Well,
I think you'll like it.
I'll kind of explain. So the riparian zone acts as like a transitional area between where a river or stream ends, like its bank.
This is a nice picture.
This looks like school.
A little bit, actually.
So a riparian zone is just like a transitional area from where like the water of the creek or stream or whatever ends, and where like the upland
vegetation
begins.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that happen here. This is where like create like in terms of like a general ecosystem, a lot of semi-aquatic plants, a lot of hydrophilic plants that like water. Like,
but they're not aquatic.
Yeah, like lilies.
Yeah, lilies are they're on that kind of aquatic edge. This is where you get a lot of
willows, mangroves.
Yes, your sycamores really like this. Mangroves is an excellent example of this. You get some bushes, some kind of like some bamboo. Like typically, like the Japanese knot. We know we've talked about it being an invasive plant, but this is where a lot of that winds up because it likes this area. It likes this wet. Typically, these areas are very wet because they're right next to the creek. You see a lot of things like cattails here. They like a lot of these kind of riparian zones. Different grasses. Typically, you see some bushes. I think like honeysuckle maybe.
Some of the more not twiggy, not the woody honeysuckles.
Herbaceous.
Yeah, the more herbaceous honeysuckles will live here probably. As well as some, it's hard to say, like animals that live here because a lot of like the larger animals live further upland and come down here to drink or feed.
They
or
travel through. You get like Tyler said, you get a lot of like your aquatic or semi like amphibians.
Crayfish burrow.
Yes.
Into these in these zones. Amphibians.
Some small reptiles. Here you go. You get things like sedge, arrowhead, which is another type of flowering plant. A lot of trees, actually cottonwoods, sycamores, like willows, live oak, actually, quaking aspen. But quaking aspen lives like everywhere.
True.
Some shrubs like blackberries, raspberries, freaking devil's club. Hate that bush. Or it's actually more like a tree.
Well, I think that's enough. I think we covered enough plants that live here.
Yeah.
So you might be asking, well, there's all these things that live here. Why is it so important to me? Well, riparian zones are important because they kind of reduce the amount of energy that the stream has, so it kind of acts as like the bumpers on a bowling lane, where like the water's gonna rush, hit the riparian zone, and kind of slow its motion, slow its energy, so it's not moving as fast, and kind of reduces the rate of erosion further downstream.
Yes, so I have a picture or a series of pictures for this. So this is from Oregon. It's called Cottonwood Creek. This is 1988. Before they did anything to it, you see how it's very dirty. It's a lot like there's no plants really or anything. There's very little water. And then 2000, you can see they started working to restore this riparian buffer zone. You can see there's more water. It's clearer, a lot more vegetation. And then lastly, 2002, that's what it looks like now. It's kind of grown in, but a lot of grasses, much more water, very clear. And like Tyler said, it slows down a lot of that runoff water too, to prevent it.
Because of those hydrophilic plants.
Yes.
As much as they like the water that's in those creeks and streams, they also do a really good job of absorbing that runoff water, so less of it ends up into the stream and creates creates flooding.
Yes.
Alex spoke that this water's a lot clearer. That's because these areas kind of help with turbidity, so they help dissipate some of the sediment that's flowing downstream. They help absorb that into their banks and create some sandy banks, as well as filtering out some pollutants. These heavy metals will kind of get trapped along here too, since they're not flowing down the river at such a high rate. They kind of filter out because it's slowing down the currents.
Yes, and this is kind of where some of the idea for acid mine drainage reclamation systems comes from. That kind of uses some different plants, and kind of natural pond chemistry that helps filter the water, but this is where that idea came from.
But that's all I have really on like a definition of a riparian zone. I hope you guys learned a little bit about it. I hope we did a good job explaining it. Alex, is there anything else you'd like to add on the riparian zone?
I think we covered it pretty well. Like I say, they're very important, especially in you start getting into industrialized areas where they've lost that riparian zone, where like it's just like bluegrass or like your typical yard grass that goes right up to the edge of a water source. That's why you'll see it'll be just grass and then it drops off almost like a little cliff, and it's actually starting to wash away underneath of that grassy area.
And you have like the overhang.
Yes, because that
grass roots.
Yeah, the grass it holds in only so far. And so it washes underneath, it just washes away the bank. But when you have these riparian zones, you get things like trees that hold very deeply. They kind of help you get more of that gradual change.
Right. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you, everybody, for sticking it with us. Hope you guys enjoyed. This was day 1 of Anguilliformes. We have another week coming to you next week. Make sure you guys like us on Spotify, follow the page. New episodes come out every week. Follow us. Subscribe to the page on YouTube. Give us a like. Give us a comment. Ring the notification bell so you can know when we upload a new video. I have to get on that really bad. I'm about 15 episodes behind. It's. I'm a busy guy.
Start popping them up. That's fair. You're a busy lad.
Follow us on Instagram at Life Complete Story. Clips and amazing species go up there at least once a week. At least one clip, at least one amazing species once a week. Follow us on TikTok at Life Complete Story. Clips go up on there, as well as YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels. Follow us on Facebook at Life the Complete Story. I post news articles there whenever I see cool stuff.
I think that's about everything.
Email.
Lastly, send us an email at lifecompletestory@gmail.com. If you've got anything big, any ideas you want us to hear, anything that's kind of a long story or something or like something real big that you're really passionate about that won't fit into a comment, send it to us there. Or if you have any ideas for like some bits we could do, for some sections we can do, that would be awesome. Thank you guys all for joining us this week on Life the Complete Story. And as always, keep learning, learn something new. You never know what you'll find interesting. But I've been Alex, and that's Tyler. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.